So hello everyone, I'm delighted to be here to talk about partnership brokering in cross-sector collaborations. Does place matter? I'd like to begin by looking at the term itself. It was coined in the year 2000 by Ross Tennyson and Luke Wilde, and they used the term, which really relates to a go-between or intermediary who acts in an active way to interpret one partner to another or to negotiate an agreement. And they decided to apply this to collaboration, primarily in relation to the intermediary role that they had identified, which supports and assists collaborative initiatives so that partners are able to work together optimally. And Ross Tennyson, who wrote this book, went on to set up the scheme that eventually became the Partnership Brokers Organization that I'm representing here today. And their work is essentially around supporting and strengthening this role. A few caveats before we explore the term more deeply. First of all, information on partnership brokering is quite difficult to locate. Just like partnership and collaboration, it's spread across a variety of different fields and academic disciplines. And it is also expressed in a variety of different ways. In the English language alone, some of the terms that are used are bridging agents, bridge builders, boundary spanners, engagers, facilitators, conveners, orchestrators, and scripters. And that's just in the English language. In Spanish, which I work in, there are also a variety of different terms. So what that helps us do, I think, is go back to relate it to place and the importance of seeing partnership brokering in relation to particular and changing contexts. And we would suggest that those contexts are around where we sit as individuals, as organizations, and how these connect to the wider context in which we're operating. So, a little bit more about what partnership brokering is. I've said already that it's a kind of intermediary role that supports and steers the work of partnership brokers, but it's much more than simply coordinating or managing relationships. It's about providing space for partners to connect and develop their work. It's about building equitable and open partner relationships. If we operate from the idea that in partnerships we are working in a horizontal manner, so we share ownership of a collaboration, then this becomes very important. And at the same time, we're trying to overcome the difficulties that this work involves, and there are often many difficulties when we work in partnership. And crucially, we have to achieve impact. So a partnership broker can do a lot to help with these elements of partnership building. And for us in the Partnership Brokers Organization, it's also about moving beyond standard ways of doing things. That if collaboration is really to be worth engaging in, because it's so challenging, it's essential to try and move beyond traditional or business as usual approaches. Because of this, what we do is try and situate a principled approach to our work. So the principles that we operate on are, firstly, diversity. This is about accepting the value of diverse perspectives and ways of doing things. And we believe that that leads to new value. I've mentioned already this idea of equity or fairness, if you like, and ensuring all partners have a voice, which we feel will lead to respect. We then have openness or transparency, making sure that hidden agendas, when they do exist, and they will, are allowed to surface, and we don't shy away from the problems that that involves. And we feel that allowing that kind of atmosphere allows a partnership broker to promote trust. Mutual benefit is another principle, the idea that there should be a value add for all the partners involved and that will lead to greater commitment. And finally, we use the principle of courage, which is really about taking risks, asking tough questions, and what we call holding space, which I will talk about a little bit later. And these elements we again believe lead to breakthrough results in collaborative work. Now, partnership brokers may be internal or external to the partnership, and they may also be individuals or organizations. So the variety of different possibilities here. Internally, we may have somebody, an individual or a partner representative of an organization working to support the partnership. Okay, so they may represent their own organization and have to take care of the partnership itself. The same may be true for one of the partner organizations or a specialist unit within one of those organizations that assumes this role of supporting and shaping the partnership. Externally, the role may be carried out by an individual, for example, an independent consultant like myself who would offer services as a partnership broker to help steer partnerships in their development or address problems that may arise. And this role can also be assumed by an external organization. The partnering initiative that Darren is involved with, for example, would be one that could assume this role. And that's an independent organization that assumes this support role and assists other partners and works with them. Of course, these different roles may be assumed by different individuals and different organizations during the lifetime of a partnership. So essentially what I'm saying is that it can be assumed by different people at different times, that it's unique, it's emergent, and it's dynamic. What do partnership brokers do? Let's have a look at some of the tasks involved. A variety of tasks can be carried out by a broker, coordinating, obviously, troubleshooting, mediating, and shaping, sometimes pushing partners along. These tasks can be carried out physically, so directly face to face, but increasingly we're finding that their role is being carried out remotely, particularly now, for example, in the times of the COVID pandemic, when partners need to talk to one another across geographic regions and time zones. These connections are happening in a virtual manner. They are also happening in relation to different phases of a partnership's work. So, for example, in the initiation phase or scoping, we may find that a partnership broker helps make the case for partnership. Is it really worthwhile collaborating? Looking at questions of whether there may be other and better alternatives for doing this, and looking at the actual work that this will involve. Helping select partners, drawing them together to develop their governance and decision-making structures. Then there is a role for partnership brokers in maintaining a partnership, promoting here, I think, accountability and engagement of the different stakeholders involved. There's also a role during consolidation, finding ways to institutionalize the results of the work of the partners. Ending, very important, what happens when a partner has to exit or an individual has to move on, and also as a partnership completes its work, assisting decisions about whether to carry on working, perhaps on something different, or to disband completely. And throughout these different phases, there is always room for a partnership broker to assist with the development of effective review and assessment processes. And we would suggest that those processes need to look not just at the results of the collaboration, but also how partners have worked together to ensure that they obtain those results. Partnership brokering, as well as the tasks, also involves a series of skills. Skills are often divided into soft and hard skills. The Partnership Brokers Association sometimes describes this in another way, which is looking at what they call the art and science of partnership brokering. But essentially, it's kind of matching these skills that can be useful for brokering, which are both intuitive but also extremely practical. So on the practical side, you'd find things like the ability to keep things on track, managerial skills, coordination, administration. On the more intuitive side, perhaps navigating diversities, negotiating, mediating, facilitating. In relation to that, this theme I spoke about earlier, which is holding space to allow difficult conversations and contradictions to emerge. And this really involves skills such as active listening, speaking clearly so that all partners understand what is being said and discussed, questioning, and there is a way of questioning so that people feel at ease and comfortable in dealing with their responses, and also giving time to reflect on the issues that have been raised. This is a very strong element of the work that we do. Many observers have suggested that these skills resonate with leadership, and indeed there is a whole strand of both academic and practitioner literature that is beginning to look at the parallels between partnership brokering and leadership. For us, there is a notion here about being temporary, and we would suggest that this kind of leadership may be non-directive in the sense that a partnership broker should be promoting the responsibility of partners to manage their own processes. So it's about encouraging the growth and development of others. And to take this a little further, I think it resonates very much with a recent piece of writing by Senge, Hamilton and Kanya on system leadership. So they're looking at individuals particularly that are involved in promoting sustainable transformation in collaborations. And some of the core capabilities that they have highlighted resonate very strongly with the work of partnership brokers. And they include catalyzing and guiding, fostering reflection and more generative conversations as a result of that reflection, shifting a collective focus away from reactive problem solving to co-creating the future. So really being forward-looking in the way that collaborations are developing. And then to bring this all again back to place, the ability to see the larger system. So working in a holistic manner, not just picking out parts of the system in which we're working, but seeing the whole big picture. And for me, I think another way of understanding a partnership broker is to bring that down to these different contextual levels I mentioned at the beginning: the individual, the organization, and the external contextual levels in which a partnership broker might operate. And I think what a partnership broker can do that is extremely interesting is perhaps create an almost translation service between these different levels. So as well as explaining and making connections with this larger global system in which we're all working, the same may be true for hearing local voices, organizational voices, individual voices, and feeding them back upwards into the wider context, so that a kind of dialectic debate is fostered. And it makes the connection nicely, I think, between partnership brokering and place. Thank you.